Alright, hey guys, this is Mr. Gradius, and we are going to do the video for systems of equations by multiplication, which is also just another form of doing systems of equation by the elimination method. Okay, so if we look here, just kind of like with our past video, we have all the steps for elimination using multiplication. Okay, the only difference really is this first step, step 1 right here. Everything else is the exact same when we use elimination, but the first step is to multiply one of the equations by a constant to get two equations that contain opposite terms. And the only time we're going to use this method right here, we're going to use this step, is when we have two systems. So I'll even do an example. So I have 2x plus 3y equals 4, and then I have 4x minus 6y equals 9. I don't have anything that I can cancel out or eliminate. So what I want to do is I want to multiply one of these equations by a constant, meaning by just a constant number. So maybe I can multiply these by 2. And then when I multiply this equation by 2, it's going to give me a coefficient that I can cancel out a variable with. Okay, this would become positive 4x, this would become 6y, this would become 8, and I'd be able to eliminate my y's. And I will show you another example of that right now, much slower. Okay, so here's my system. I have 3x minus 2y equals 3. I also have negative x plus y equals 1. So what I want to do is I want to ask myself, what right away, there's nothing I can eliminate if I combine these two equations. Okay, but if I notice I have a negative 2y and a positive y right here, I also have a positive 3x and a negative x. So what I could probably do is I can probably multiply this whole second equation by some number so that it's going to have the same coefficient as either the x will have the same coefficient as this x or the y will have the same coefficient as this x. And when I multiply it and I combine the two equations, then they should cancel out. So what my goal is right now is I think I'm going to try to cancel out my y's. And so if I want to cancel out my y's, I need this to be a 2y right here, because negative 2y plus 2y would cancel each other out. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to multiply that whole second equation by 2. What that's going to give me, 2 times negative x, is negative 2x plus 2y equals 2. And I still have my first equation up here, minus 2y equals 3. So here's my new system. Now, when I add these two together, I'm going to cancel some stuff out. I'm going to eliminate my y variable because negative 2y plus y is 0. They cancel. 3x plus negative 2x is just x, and x equals 5. Just like that, I've already solved for one of my variables, and now we do the same thing that we've been doing this whole time. We take our x, we plug it back in to one of our original equations, and then we solve for y. Okay, and I can choose to substitute it into this original equation. I can substitute it into this equation that we changed it after we multiplied it by 2, or I can substitute it into this original equation. I'm going to substitute it in here because I think this is going to be the easiest to work with. So I'm going to have x, so negative 5 plus y equals 1. Add 5 to both sides. Y is equal to 6. So my solution to this system is 5, 6. Let's look at another one. So I have 11x minus 20y equals 28. 3x plus 4y equals 36. So I need to figure out, okay, because I don't have anything that if I combine these two, I can't eliminate anything right away. I don't have the same coefficient here. But I need to ask myself, is there a number that I can multiply this equation by or this equation by so that I do have the same coefficient? And hopefully we might notice that if I multiply this 4 by 5 right here, I will have a positive 20, and that means that'll cancel out with the negative 20. So that's exactly what we're going to do. If I multiply this equation by 5, I'm going to be able to cancel something out because this is going to become 15x plus 20y equals, let's see, 36 times 5. I'm just going to work it out really quick. 180. And then I still have this equation right on top of it, 11x minus 20y equals 28. Now I can combine these two equations because my y's will eliminate each other. I have a negative 20y, I have a positive 20y. When I combine those, they cancel each other out. Okay, So these cancel. I now have 26x equals 208. Okay, I need to divide by 26 on both sides. And I will have x equals, I'm not exactly sure, I'm going to take a guess, so I'm going to check and see, I think it's 8. Let me look. 48, 208, perfect, I was right. So x equals 8. Now, just like always, I take my x equals 8, I plug it back into one of my original equations. So I can plug it in here. I can still plug it into 3x plus 4y equals 36. I could also plug it into 15x plus 20y equals 180. Any of these three equations I can do. Okay, I'm going to go into this original equation right here. So it's going to become 3 times 8 plus 4y equals 36. 24 plus 4y equals 36. Which is going to give me 4y equals 12, y equals 3. Again, I kind of rushed that, but I know we know how to solve equations. So my solution is 8, 3. Now, let's take a look at something that's a little bit different, but still pretty similar. So now I've got 8x minus 5y equals 11. 4x minus 3y equals 5. If we notice, I need to, again, I can't, by adding these two equations together, I'm not going to be able to cancel anything out. I will not eliminate any variable. But hopefully we see that right away. If I multiply this equation by 2, then I won't be able to have 8x on both of my equations. But they're both going to be positive 8x, and I won't eliminate anything by adding them together, because 8x plus 8x would just be 16x. That's not an elimination. So I need to make it a negative 2. Kind of like what we did before. We multiplied by negative 1. Now I'm multiplying it by negative 2 so that I have the same coefficient and opposite signs. So I want the same coefficient, but I want opposite signs. So I want one number to be positive, one number to be negative. So that's why I'm multiplying the whole equation by negative 2. So this is going to give me negative 8x, positive 6y, and negative 10. And then this equation hasn't changed. Give me positive 8x minus 5y equals 11. Now I can combine these two equations and something's going to eliminate. When I add these two equations together, some things will cancel each other out. 8x plus negative 8x cancels. Now I have negative 5y plus 6y, which is just 1y, and that's equal to 1. And now I can take this, plug it into any of my original equations. Let's do the top one this time. So I have 8x minus 5 times 1 equals 11. 8x minus 5 equals 11. Let's add 5 to both sides. 8x equals 16. So my x equals 2. So my solution is 2, 1. So if you have, so again, when we want to eliminate something, we want to make sure they have opposite signs, so they have to be negative and positive, but they have to have the same coefficient right here. And that's how we eliminate. So if they're going to have, if they initially have the same sign, just put a negative, just multiply by a negative number, and then that'll give you the opposite sign so you can eliminate. One final problem. This one's going to be a little bit more complicated. Again, so now I have my system. I don't have any coefficients that can line up right now. Okay, so what I need to do is I need to multiply one of my equations or maybe both of my equations to get something that cancels out. Okay, so if we look, if I multiply this equation by something, it's not going to give me anything right here. I can multiply it by 2, that'll give me an 8 and a 6. If I multiply this by 2, that'll give me a 10 and a 4. No matter what, I can't match up by multiplying one of these equations. So what I'm going to do is I am going to multiply both of my equations so that I can cancel something out. So I'm thinking what I want my goal to be is I want to maybe get this negative 3y. If I can get this to 6 by multiplying by 2, that's going to give me an 8x minus 6y equals 16. Okay, so now right away I have negative 6y. Now if I'm looking at this, I can multiply negative 2y by something to get a positive 6y. So I'm going to multiply it by positive 3. I'm sorry, I'm going to multiply it by negative 3. And the reason why, if I were to multiply it by positive 3, it's going to give me a negative 6y. Nothing's going to cancel. I need opposite signs. So that's why I'm going to multiply it by a negative. When I multiply it by negative 3, I will have negative 15x, positive 6y, positive 33. Now, by multiplying both of my equations, I have something that I can eliminate. And right away, I can eliminate my negative 6y, my positive 6y. And then when I combine these guys, I'll have negative 7x equals 49 divided by negative 7. X equals negative 7. So let's recap what I just did there. I noticed that I can't multiply one of these equations to cancel out something with the other, so instead I multiplied both of the equations. And really what I'm multiplying them is by the lowest common multiple. And I saw 3 and 2 that I can easily multiply these by something to get to a 6, so that's a coefficient that's in common. So in order to get turn the 3 into 6, I multiplied it by 2. In order to get 2 into 6, I multiplied it by 3. And then I had to multiply one of these by a negative number, just so that I could flip my sign, because my goal is to have opposite signs, same coefficients. Opposite signs, same coefficients. Okay? And then now once I get my answer, we do the old trick that we've been doing this whole time. We plug it back in to figure out what our y is. Okay, so I chose my first equation up here. Okay. And I just solve. So I add 28 to both sides. I'll get negative 3y equals 36. So y equals negative 12. So negative 7, negative 12 is my solution. And I am all done. Okay, so I hope this video helps. Good luck, and please let me know if you have any further questions. Okay, thank you.